Back at it again, baby, and we have another one with the brother Thomas Sowell. Let's dive in.
No one will really understand politics until they understand that politicians are not trying to solve our problems. They are trying to solve their own problems, of which getting elected and re-elected are number one and number two.
They're never trying to solve our problems. They're trying to just get reelected, which obviously makes sense. They don't really necessarily care about us. They just want to look good so that they can get reelected and collect them checks. Makes sense. Makes sense.
Whatever is number three is far behind. Many of the things the government does that may seem stupid are not stupid at all from the standpoint of the elected officials or bureaucrats who do these things. The current economic downturn that has cost millions of people their jobs began with successive administrations of both parties pushing banks and other lenders to make mortgage loans to people whose incomes, credit history, and inability or unwillingness to make a substantial down payment on a house made them bad risks. Was that stupid? Not at all. The money that was being put at risk was not the politicians' money.
His economic agenda on the line, Biden prepares to fight for tax increases on the wealthy.
And in most cases, was not even the government's money. Moreover, the jobs that are being lost by the millions are not the politicians' jobs, and jobs in the government's bureaucracies are increasing. No one pushed these reckless mortgage lending policies more than Congressman Barney Frank, who brushed aside warnings about risk and said in 2003 that he wanted to roll the dice even more in the housing markets. But it would be very rash to bet against Congressman Frank's getting re-elected in 2010. After the cascade of economic disasters that began in the housing markets in 2006 and spread into the financial markets in Wall Street and even overseas, people in the private sector pulled back. Banks stopped making so many risky loans.
Well, you don't suppose. I don't care who tries to push me to give out. If I don't feel like I'm gonna get my money back, then why am I giving out these loans? And these politicians are terrible for even putting people in these positions. Oh yeah, banks, you should just give out the loans. Well, they're not giving them out in the first place for a reason, because they're high risk. Most of these people aren't going to be able to afford to pay them back. Yeah, in a perfect sunny society, they can pay them back. But life smacks you in the face sometimes. Your car breaks down. You lose your job. This happens. You have a kid. That happens. You have a surgery. So you start having some of these things pile up on you. And all of a sudden, you already had a loan that you really shouldn't have been approved for. But all these things started happening. Now you really can't afford it. So sheesh Louise, some politicians, man, it's crazy. And yeah, we gotta do a better job of putting these politicians on Front Street when a lot of these stupid policies are being pushed forward.
Home buyers began buying homes they could afford instead of going out on a limb with creative and risky financing schemes to buy homes that were beyond their means. But politicians went directly in the opposite direction.
Wait, is that Rudy? To the right of Obama? Let me know in the comment section. Is that who that is? And why do politicians, whenever they're signing a bill, have like 1,000 pins, different pins next to them instead of just using one pin? Let me know in the comment section. Now, I've seen that several times now, where there's just like 20 pins on the desk next to them. And I've even seen them like switch pins and sign here, grab another pin, sign here, grab another pin. It's just like, wait, what is happening? Let me know.
In the name of rescuing the housing market, Congress passed laws enabling the Federal Housing Administration to insure more and bigger risky loans where there is less than a 4% down payment. A recent news story told of 3 young men who chipped in a total of $33,000 to buy a home in San Francisco that cost nearly $1 million. Why would a bank lend that kind of money to them on such a small down payment? Because the loan was insured by the Federal Housing Administration. The bank wasn't taking any risk. If the 3 guys defaulted, the bank could always collect the money from the Federal Housing Administration. The only risk was to the taxpayers.
Of course, we're dealt the crap end of the stick. That's BS. That is BS. Of
Federal
course.
Housing Administration have unlimited money to bail out bad loans? Actually, there have been so many defaults that the FHA's own reserves have dropped below where they are supposed to be. But not to worry. There will always be taxpayers, not to mention future generations, to pay off the national debt. Very few people are likely to connect the dots back to those members of Congress who voted for bigger mortgage guarantees and bailouts by the FHA. So the congressmen's and the bureaucrats' jobs are safe, even if millions of other people's jobs are not. Congressman Barney Frank is not about to cut back on risky mortgage loan guarantees by the FHA. He recently announced that he plans to introduce legislation to raise the limit on FHA loan guarantees even more. Congressman Frank will make himself popular with people who get those loans and with banks that make these high-risk loans where they can pocket the profits and pass the risk on to the FHA. So long as the taxpayers don't understand that all this political generosity and compassion are at their expense, Barney Frank is an odds-on favorite to get reelected. The man is not stupid. What is stupid is believing that politicians are trying to solve our problems instead of theirs.
Yeah, he just wants to get reelected, and I'm sure he knows that these are horrible policies, but he understands that to individuals that don't look deeper into the entire situation, they see it as good. Oh, I can get into a better home? Wow, a bigger home? Okay, I like this guy. Yeah, but you don't know the whole story. You don't understand the entire situation. Let me sit you down and talk to you for a minute. And it's important that we try to educate folks on this stuff that politicians aren't going to put out on Front Street because they want to look good in the public eye. It's important that we do a better job at, putting all this stuff and grabbing all of this information and bringing it to the light. So politicians can't just hide behind a few words and, oh yeah, we're going to make sure the banks approve your loans. And then they go and hide behind those words. But at what cost? Let's make them answer for these words that they're spewing out into the public realm.
As for the FHA running low on money, that is not about to stop the gravy train, certainly not with an election coming up in 2010. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation is also running low on money, but that is not going to stop them from insuring bank accounts up to $250,000. It would be stupid for them to stop, with an election coming up in 2010. Someone once said that Senator Hubert Humphrey, liberal icon of an earlier generation, had more solutions than there were problems. Senator Humphrey was not unique in that respect. In fact, our present economic crisis has developed out of politicians providing solutions to problems that did not exist, and as a result, producing a problem whose existence is all too real and all too painful. What was the problem that didn't exist? It was a national problem of unaffordable housing. The political crusade for affordable housing got into high gear in the 1990s and led to all kinds of changes in mortgage lending practices, which in turn led to a housing boom and bust that has left us in the mess we are now trying to dig out of. Usually, housing affordability is measured in terms of how much of the average person's income it takes to cover either apartment rent or a monthly mortgage payment. There were certainly places here and there where it took half a family's income just to put a roof over their heads. Many such places were in coastal California, but there were a few others here and there on the East Coast and elsewhere.
Of course, but that's obvious. If you want to live in a big city, you got to pay big city prices, and if you don't have that kind of salary, then you shouldn't be living there. I feel like that's common sense. Or if you do live there, you're going to live in like the outskirts or some very rundown, extremely poor part of that kind of city. Like there's no way I'm living in one of them big cities. Absolutely not. Maybe I'm wrong though. Y'all let me know. I feel like that's common sense though. But yeah, talk to me.
But vast areas of the country in between, flyover country to the East Coast and West Coast elites, had housing prices that took no larger share of the average American's income than in the decade before the affordable housing crusade got underway. Why then a national crusade by Washington politicians over local problems? Probably as good an answer as any is that it seemed like a good idea at the time. How are we to be kept aware of how compassionate and how important our elected officials are unless they are busy solving some problem for us? The problem of skyrocketing housing prices was all too real in those places where this problem existed. When you have to live on half your income because the other half goes for housing, that's a real downer. Almost invariably.
That's why you don't live in those places if you can't truly afford it. I'm just saying. But y'all, like I said, let me know if I'm wrong in my thinking on that topic. But
these severe local problems had local. Almost invariably, these severe local problems had local causes, usually severe local restrictions on building homes. These restrictions had a variety of politically attractive names, ranging from open space laws and smart growth policies to environmental protection and farmland preservation. Like most wonderful-sounding political slogans, none of these lofty goals was discussed in terms of that one four-letter word that people do not use in polite political society: cost. No one asked how many hundreds of thousands of dollars would be added to the cost of an average home by open space laws, for example. Yet empirical studies have shown that land use restrictions added at least $100,000 to the average home price in dozens of places around the country. In some places, such as coastal California, these restrictions added several $100,000 to the price of the average home.
Man, that is crazy. Oh my God. These politicians, they almost need to be arrested. This is just ridiculous.
In other words, where the problem was real, local politicians were the cause. National politicians then tried to depict this as a national problem that they would solve. How would they solve it? By pressuring banks and other lenders to lower their requirements for making mortgage loans so that more people could buy houses. The Department of Housing and Urban Development gave the government-sponsored enterprise Fannie Mae quotas for how many mortgages it should buy that were made out for people with low to moderate incomes. Like most political solutions, the solution to the affordable housing problem took little or no account of the wider repercussions this would entail. Various economists and others warned repeatedly that lowered lending standards meant more risky mortgages, given the complex relationships among banks and other financial institutions, including many big Wall Street firms. If mortgages started defaulting, all the financial dominoes could start falling. These warnings were brushed aside. Politicians were too busy solving a national problem that didn't exist. In the process, they created very real problems. Now they are offering even more solutions that will undoubtedly lead to even bigger problems.
We don't want your solutions. We'll figure it out ourselves, all right? Just step aside, get out the way, and we'll do our own thing, okay? Sheesh Louise. Yeah, I mean, any other videos like this that need to be brought to the light, definitely let me know, and we'll check it out here on the channel. But like I said, we have to do a better job of putting a lot of this information out on Front Street, you know, because a lot of these politicians, they hide behind these nice words and terms, and they don't really say the downside or the truth of the entire situation. But also, before I forget, would you guys be interested in seeing me do some interviews? If I could get, you know, an interview with Thomas Sowell, Larry Elder, Ben Shapiro, AOC, Candace Owens. If I could get some interviews with some of these individuals, would you guys be interested in seeing them? And I will be mentioning this in several videos. So I know not everyone watches every single video, so I'll be saying it in multiple videos. So if you hear me say it multiple times, I'll apologize ahead of time. But anyway, y'all let me know what you thought about this one in the comment section below. Like, share, comment, and of course, hit that subscribe button. It's right up over there. Click that thing. All right, click it and subscribe. And then after you do that, check out that video right over there too. You might like it. Peace and love. I'm out.